trouble. Time for a bit of Jim Does SuperCoach AFL Round 3 team reveal. All the good stuff, that's right. Just wanted to jump on, have another quick look at the AFL squad for this week. Talk out a little bit of AFL SuperCoach before the Week 3 lockout hits tonight. Teams obviously at about 6:20. We already know who's going to be playing for the, Crom Cats game tonight, which is kind of fun. A few big ins and outs, but nothing too chaotic, I guess, for our SuperCoach teams. But where did we land after round 2, Jim? Well, for me, basically exactly the same as round 1. Seriously, it's weird. Top 17%. I ended up 1,817 last week. So I think I'm 22,722 overall. And so that's up 9,000 spots from last week. But again, I think I was top 18% week, the first one, top 17 this one. Anyway, it's all good. Basically, as long as we're pointed in the right direction, it's okay. How do we get there? We'll get to that in a second, because the biggest stuff right now in AFL and AFL SuperCoach land is carnage. Injury carnage. Oh boy, Connor Rozee, Christian Petracca, even our beloved Milan Murdock, even Libba, even if you're a Tigers fan and you've got Nank on your team, he's gone. Chaos reigns. Even if you've gotten Danger on your team, he's out too. So anyway, it's been, a pretty rough start to the, AFL SuperCoach year. We lose, Errol Goulden week 1. Now we've lost Rozee, we've lost Petracca, both of who were playing really, really well. Rozee with the ruptured, tendon, not great. Petracca, 4 to 6 weeks with that hammy. Right off the bat, before we quickly wrap up, what happened last week, I am I'll get to my trades in a second, but you don't have to trade both of them out right this instant, right? Like, you can boost. I think this week is a really good way to boost, because I think the biggest thing heading into round 3, when the rest of the remaining, AFL teams who are, have played 2 games, you've got so many players on the bubble. This is price moving week as it were. So you can boost, you can make the moves that you need to. With Petracca on a bye, it's not going to hurt you that much anyway if you leave him. I think that's what I'm going to do, but I'll get to that later. So Rozee out, Petracca out. It's a massive kick in the guts for super coaches. They were super owned, and off we go. So who stunk last week for you, Jim? Well, TDK, he's out. He's gone. He's been relegated to the bin. I think I mentioned this on Footy Unfiltered the other day. I was kind of very much hoping that TDK would sort of repay my faith in him on SuperCoach terms, by basically going, hey, Jim, you know how I took off from your beloved Blues? Well, at least I'm good on SuperCoach this year for you. That hasn't happened. So he's out of the team now. He's gone. He's on his bike. See you later, TDK. There was that moment when he was having breakfast down the road from the house here in Brunswick, hanging out, and it was before he'd announced a decision. I did think about going, do I go up and say something? Oh, I love you, Tom de Koning. The squid loves you as well. You shouldn't go. You don't get bloody cafes like this down there in Moorabbin, which you definitely don't. But I didn't say a word. I didn't want to be that guy. Maybe in retrospect I should have. Might have helped his SuperCoach scoring. Anyway, Caleb Sarong, he got thol-stripped. What happened there? Got tagged out of the game. Absolutely brutal for me this week. Brought him in for Goulden. He manages 68. A lot of that came with that big goal that he kicked. But Sarong sort of stunk it up. Otherwise, wasn't too bad. Fonte managed the 77. Sicily with the 90. I think, everywhere else, it wasn't that shocking. So that's why I ended up with a decent score with the best of 18 scoring. Who was awesome? Tristan Cherry. That's the reason my score was good. His 199. Huge, massive, all-time, unreal score. 199, Tristan Cherry. I had the captain on him, so that was good. You might remember last week and go, yep, gonna go Cherry. I think we had Petracca with the VC, so that didn't get, looped. Jason Horne-Francis, not on my team, but he had 142. He was awesome. Just one to very much keep an eye on. And in terms of other players that had really good, 147 he had. 142 for Shea Bolton. I'm not going to get sucked in. I do not care. Just bring this up to me every time I talk about Shea Bolton. Jim, don't get sucked in. Okay. You had 141 for Bont and Maximus Gornicus. Butters had 135. Grundy 135. Ash 130. rucks, they're doing pretty bloody well. So I think a lot of the sort of fears heading into the season about their Supercoach scoring has been a little bit overplayed. Cherry the 199, Gawn's 141, Grundy 135, Jordan Sweet 121, Nank had 117 before leaving with his hammy, 114 for Tinglish, 113 for Luke Jackson, even Cooper Duff Tyler managed 100. Just saying, not bad, good size. Anyway, so what are we looking at this week? What are the big issues? Obviously, replacing injured players, but the biggest thing for me is prioritizing making cash while you can. While it's easy, while these price rises are mammoth from a 99k midfielder jumping up 40k, 50k, it makes a big difference versus having a 160k rookie who jumps up 17k, 22k. If you can sort of outstrip that for less outlay in the beginning, then you're making much more bank in the long term. So much about this week for me, I'm completely fine with boosting. It's about getting the right players into your team to make you enough cash to primo your team as quickly as possible. So you need all these rookies on your squad making you cash. So that's see ya, Dyson Sharp kind of vibes, right? This is, all right, better keep it up, Jai Sarong, or else I'm going to be Leo Lombard. Fingers crossed you get named because he had a 20 last week. Not great, but he's on a bye anyway, so they're fine. But keep an eye on the schedule and the buys. Obviously, the buys this week, it's one sort of other thing to sort of keep in mind when we're looking at the trades we have to make with Petracca and Rozee. If you don't trade one of them, it's fine because you think about next week you'll have the likes of GWS and the Saints having gone through 2 price cycles and then go to their buy. So they become much more desirable after next week. And hopefully, the price fluctuations this week might work in your favor. I'm talking about you, Nazai Wanganeen Miller. Hopefully you'll be on my team in 3 weeks' time. But basically, this week we're about prioritizing making cash, making sure we've got the right rookies, making us cash who are on the bubble, and also fixing any other mistakes. TDK, I'm completely fine with punting him because he's going to lose so much money. And it looks like in that 2 ruck setup that his Supercoach scoring ceiling is really limited. So he's gone. Right. Otherwise, what else are we doing? Well, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about this week. So should we do some, we'll do the team reveal. Or do you want to do some pods? Let's do the team reveal. This is what I'm looking at this week. I think my defenders, we've got Jack Sinclair. He's been fine. He was awesome. 118 last week. Happy days there. Sicily managed a 90. He's up to 503k. And this is the kind of thing about having a primo that can make you a little bit of cash. They're on the bye this week of the Hawks. I feel okay about that. He's been fine. He's been solid. And if you look at the Hawks run after this week, he's got a break even of 94. And they come up against the Cats, the Dogs, Port. So you think about his role, what we've seen so far, 128, 106, 90. I feel fine about keeping him, an eye on him for the next couple of weeks just to see what his role he could have been a bigger score last week, I think, apart from a couple of clangers. So anyway, I feel okay about still having Sicily on the team. Out goes Rozee. He goes to Dan Houston. 431. It's what I can afford because I'll get to this later when we break down the trades. Houston, obviously, coming off his bye, looked awesome 2 weeks ago at the G. Now, the Pies, I don't know. They've got a very, very interesting game this week. They play GWS at Marvel. They will also get Jeremy Howe and who else? Darcy Moore back as well, right? So you've got a little bit more sort of tall timber, either in your back line. Maybe that affects Houston's role. I still think the way he uses the ball coming off half-back is massive to what Collingwood want to do. Craig McRae has said that himself. So I'm going to trust Houston to keep up the scoring. And at 431, he is going to jump up in price pretty quickly with that 132 in his cycle. Slated to make 43k this week. So he can get you to 500 in 2 weeks. And then if you don't kind of like what you're sort of seeing, you can also then pivot to somebody else. So Houston, he's got GWS this week, Brisbane at the Gabba, Freo at Adelaide Oval for Gather Round, then Carlton at the MCG, then Essendon at the G as well for Anzac Day. So you sort of think if you can get through to that round 7 thing, Houston might be a keeper by that point. But at 4.31, jumping on him now from what we've seen in 2 weeks, I don't mind it. I feel good about that move. Elsewhere, Joe Fonte, he scored 77 as my mid-pricer. He's up to 345k already. Hopefully he gets one more big score before the buys next week. We might be able to use him as a jumping off point with a bit of cash in the bank. But he should make it to the 400k mark pretty happily, and then I might move on. But he's okay, not too bad. And Josh Lindsay's the only other starter I've got in the defenders this week because I've got Jack, Sarong, and Selwood all on buys. So they're all fine. Lindsay not playing last week was a kick in the guts. Hopefully he gets back into the team. I don't know, with the Eagles winning, they do lose like Milan Murdock, which we'll get to in a second. So maybe there's like a little bit of a chance he comes back into the team. Fingers crossed. In the midfield, Butters, Dacos, Lockie Neal, Sarong, Sammy Walsh, not bad, Tanner Bruhn, Jagger Smith, and Tom Blamires, right? So Blamires has been pretty good. He had 79 last week. North, he's just been super duper solid. If you don't have him in your squad, what are you doing? At 99k, he's going to make a lot of money. Smith, the same sort of thing. Bruhn, he's already averaging over 100. Hopefully he puts up another massive score tonight and just skyrockets. But I think my combination of primos here, I really, 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 really hope that Sarong backs us up here. 68 was a real tough one after the 150. And especially with some of the other options that we could have gone to from the Errol Goulden trade, watching Andy Brayshaw carve it up. Brayshaw, I think, is still going to lose money because he had a rough first week. But I think Sarong, Walsh, Neal, Butters and Dacos, I feel okay about that, especially with one more week to look at them this week. I feel like the ceiling on all of them is great. Butters now without Rozee there, though. He had 135 last week. Jason Horne-Francis, if he keeps this sort of like, he was fantastic last week. Consistency's never been a big thing with Jason Horne-Francis, though. Butters might get a little bit more work. I don't know. But he's good enough that even without Rozee, he should still be fine. So elsewhere, on my bench at the moment, I still have Petracca because of with this trades that I've made. That's fine, sitting there at 570. Jack Carroll, 44 last week, and Jack Watkins, 74. As long as he keeps getting named, that's fantastic for the power at 99k, 74 in his cycle again. Love that. The rucks, Cherry, Lockie McAndrew, Luke Jackson. Switching out one of them into the flex is essentially how I've been playing this. But Luke Jackson's going to come in for TDK. I'll get to that in a second. And ZZ Top, he's on the bench. Zakatelski. The forwards, we've got Shees, we've got Stupid Sexy Flanders in the F1, F2. That's fine. Petracca's been moved to the midfield because we've brought in Braden Cook for the Crom. His job security feels a little bit better as well. He's already been named for this week. He got 62 last week, came on strong late, averaging a 77, priced at 158. Awesome money maker. Feel good about this, especially with the Crom dealing with a few injuries around that sort of midfield. Jordan Dawson's out as Rory Laird's gone, so hopefully he gets a little bit more on. Hopefully it opens the door for, like, even Josh Worrell is carrying an injury too, so hopefully Cook can put up a half-decent Supercoach score for us. The other three forwards I've got here are Phoenix Goddard. He's been unreal for my GWS Giants. He had 84 last week. He was the one that I sort of watched that first week of GWS footy, went, all right, he's already up to 168. So in his games, the young fella has scored 47, 46, and you're like, oh, this is a bit blah, isn't it? Then rips off 84 against the Saints last week. Looked fantastic. Now they've got the Collingwood game this week and then the bye. I like him as my nice little sort of extra cash cow with Leo Lombard. But Goddard, love that. He's going to start on field for me because I've got Buderick and I've got Lombard on buys on my bench. Todd Marshall, though, I brought him in last week for Philippou. Love that move. And Dev Robertson, absolutely crushing it at 119, the former Lion. Had 95 after his big opening week, 105. So the Marshall one was really good, though. I think Philippou ended up playing, and I was sort of sitting there staring at it, and going, you know what? I'm fine with Marshall over Philippou. Philippou's going to be carrying a bit of an injury. He, I think, scored, the 27, then the 42. So only went up 17K with his price rise. Whereas Todd Marshall ripped off another 73 last week and Todd Marshall, this is the big difference, right? So he's starting at, 147K? He could jump up 50, 60K if he has a half-decent score this week. His break-even is minus 78. Philippou, on the other hand, it gets a little bit tougher. He's not going to rise as quickly because he's at 185 already after the 17K price rise, right? And so suddenly his break-even is 38. And even then, if he hits that, it really plateaus very quickly. So Marshall's going to make more money quicker than Philippou. I feel okay about that trade from last week. And I also love what Marshall's doing for the power. So feeling good about that one too. So there you go. That's it. So with Luke Jackson in the flex spot, we've got a pretty decent top 18 scoring this week. I feel okay about it. Sinclair, Houston. So these are the ones who can actually play. Fonzie, Lindsay, possibly. In the midfield, Butters, Dacos, Neil, Sarong, Sammy Walsh, Tanner Burn, Jagger Smith. Love that he signed on to 2030. And Tom Blumeyers. Then you got Cherry and McAndrew in the rucks along with Luke Jackson in the flex. Forward, you got Shees, Stupid Sexy Flanders, Goddard, Cook, Marshall, and Dev Robertson. So out of that 18, the best 18 scoring, I feel pretty good about that. So how did we get there? Well, the trades that I've made, right? Like Rozee goes out for Houston. Dyson Sharp goes out. The Essendon rookie. Hurt his ankle, scored, 17 on the weekend. Already priced where he was. It was going to be an absolute uphill battle. And this is what I was talking about, right? Like the price, 149K Sharp's at. His break-even is 15, so he'll probably hit it. But he's not going to rise a dramatic amount because he's already starting at 149. His role is very hit or miss. They do play North. He could score massive. He could kick 3 goals. But versus... you look at Braden Cook, who's already scoring decent scores. I feel much better about that. And Luke Jackson is about to go on a massive run. So I'm feeling good about Sharp goes out. In comes Braden Cook into my forward line because I swing Petracca into the mids, onto my bench, and he stays there. Because I also use a boost, trade out TDK, who has been stinking it up. Absolutely stinking it up. 96 in round 1. Okay, 89 in round 1. Round 0, he had the 96. Round 1, 89. Ugh. Round 2, 45. Oh, God. TDK's break-even suddenly 150, and he's out of here. So, yeah, Luke Jackson, however, this week plays a Richmond team that doesn't have a, ruckman. Then has Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, which is a huge game. Love that. Again, Adelaide's ruck stocks, pretty thin on the ground. Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy should be running absolutely rampant. Then they've got the Pies. Then they've got the Eagles. So I love Luke Jackson's role. I love what he's been able to do so far in the first couple of rounds. He's at 6'11". Basically, this is my chance to sort of fix the TDK mistake while I can with one of the top primo 2 ruckmen. Because I've already got Cherry. Started the season with Cherry. Gawn versus Jackson. I probably trust Jackson just that little bit more throughout the season to put up massive numbers. Gawn, you'll probably have a good game against my Blues this week, but I'm going Luke Jackson. So TDK goes out. I'm happy I waited on Murdock because he stays on the bubble dealing with his hamstring. JHF might be the big target for next week. He might also get DPP status, so we might get a bit of a forward savior there. So, yeah, I still don't have Bont. I'm waiting on Naz. And the Bont thing as well. This is why leaving Petracca on my bench and going, cool, we'll make sure we've got a big money maker in Cook coming into the team in place of Sharp, who was making no cash. Houston's going to make us some cash, and Luke Jackson is going to rise up in price to a point where he'll be almost unattainable at one point, right? That means we get to have a look one more week at whoever else we can bring in, whether it be in defense, midfield, forwards. Have Petracca sitting there with that 570K, 20K odd in the bank, 29K in the bank, and then we can make a big move next week once we've got another rash of buys out of the road. So maybe it's Bont if we sacrifice another cash cow or somebody else, but we'll figure it out from there. But anyway, the other pods that I am going to be looking at, Max Holmes has looked absolutely fantastic. Love his role. Love how he fits with SuperCoach right now. He looks absolutely amazing. Zorko is another one to keep an eye on. Houston was a bit of a pod too, but everybody jumped on him, so that's pretty neat. And the cash cows this week, I think Cook is the obvious sort of standout one now that he's already been named, but Murdock is just like the world's most amazing cash cow. but he's already pinged a hammy. So he's got a break even of minus 145. If you don't have Dev Robertson, break even of minus 131. He's going to go whack. Jagger Smith, Lockie McAndrew. That's why you have that 119 Ruckman as your R2 for me. He's got a break even of minus 8. Blamires, minus 92. Todd Marshall, minus 78. Minus 63 for Braden Cook. So I feel good that I've got 6 of the top 7 cash cows in my team already. And the top one that I don't have is injured. So I've also then got Jack Watkins, who's at number 9. He's got a break even of minus 62. So a lot of folks will have those, but Zane, Zach Kotalski as well, ZZ Tops is on my team. Tanner Bruins on the team. Lockie Jacks is on my team. Cash. Cash is king, mate. Cash is king. So I'm trying to get as much cash into this team as I can so we can spend it all later. This is what we've learned over the years through SuperCoach. If you've got a bankroll and you're not doing sideways, look, TDK, yes, it's a sideways trade, but this is also the one where Luke Jackson is absolutely primed to make an absolute boatload of cash. So versus what TDK was about to just drop through the floor. So this is a bit of a save me, Jimbo. You're my only hope kind of moment. So TDK goes. So I don't know. Let us know what you think about this setup this week. Tell us about your pods. Who are you aiming for in your trades? What's your rank? I'm at the 22K mark. Hopefully we crack that sort of, top 15K post haste. Hopefully this team is all right. As for captaincy options and stuff like that this week, mine's really, really simple. I think I'm just going the straight VC on Luke Jackson up against the Tigers at home. He could go absolutely whack the big man, I reckon. Without Nank there, I really, really love this. So he had 142 against Geelong week 1. If he does something like that again, you're feeling pretty good about it. And then that goes, the other seed just goes straight to Cherry because he's playing Essendon, Lockie Blackiston, and not much else. So, yeah, don't mind Cherry. To the point where I might even kick the tires on having Cherry go into somebody else on the Sunday, just because Cherry might have an absolutely massive one, and I don't want to trip myself up by going Luke Jackson 140, and then Cherry rips up 170 or something. So, anyway, so those are the options at this week. Go check them all out. I don't know. Tell us what you reckon. Tell us who you're going to trade in. Make sure you're following Jim Does SuperCoach across all of the socials, all that sort of stuff. Get around to Footy Unfilterated as well, which is our awesome full show. Jez and myself talking about lots of different things. But that's it for the team reveal for week 3. Follow us all on the socials. Like, follow, and subscribe everywhere on your podcast app, on YouTube, etc. Jump in the comments. Say g'day. Tell us what you're doing. Get involved. I like hearing back from everybody, especially about SuperCoach, because, look, this is all the stuff I know. If you know more, let us know. Love that stuff. Right, that's it. Here's to a big round 3. This has been Jim Does SuperCoach. Happy SuperCoaching.